Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in today, folks. Look, we got some great conversations, some real talkers for you today on this Friday. First, let's talk about a new poll coming from Business Insider that says that most Americans think the government is too old. Well, what do you think? I'm going to break down just some of the numbers and some of the data from the poll as we talk about this. Is it time for for there to be a more national conversation about age, term limits, and so much more to give some freshness to our government? We'll have that conversation. Also, folks, guess what? Are you a quiet quitter, but you might be actually spied on? There are a number of companies, small and medium and large companies, that are now investing in software where they're spying on quiet quitters. I'm going to share with you this new phenomenon as a response to this other dynamic of quiet quitting and why it's important for companies to understand that, you know what, if you need to spy on somebody, you might just need to hire someone else to do the job. We'll have that conversation. Also, Ime Udoka, who is the Boston Celtics head coach, he's in a lot of fire for his quote-unquote consensual intimate relationship with a female staffer. But here's the thing, folks. I'm not having a conversation about that as much as wanting to know, does being in a high-profile position automatically put your life on Front Street? Should that already be considered, or should that already be acceptable? I'm going to be checking in with Culture Crew member Nira Muhammad to get her take on that, and you as well. And then later, Avatar comes out this weekend. There's big hopes that the blockbuster movie is going to bring folks back to the theaters, but will it? And is the message going to resonate as it did the first time? We'll have that conversation as well, and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Good to hear from you. Good to see you. And welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. First and foremost, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Hopefully your Friday is going very well, whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast or in the middle somewhere, the Midwest or down south. Wherever you are, I hope your day is going great. Now, folks, it is Friday, so that means that we're going to have a lot of different conversations, and I'm just so excited to present these discussions to you and more excited to have you involved because, of course, no conversation is complete without you. So make sure that you join us on our online Culture Crew on YouTube and on our Facebook page as we're streaming live right now. Also, make sure that you go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you show your financial support for the network, and also make sure that you share the notification that the culture is now streaming live right there on Black Star Network. So all that you want to know about news and information and relevant conversations, you can find at our website at blackstarnetwork.com. All right, I'm very, very excited about today's show, and I'm super excited about the Culture Crew members that we're going to be joining us in a little bit. First up, we're going to have my brother Rashad Staten, who is a brother who is doing some fantastic work in the nonprofit sector. He's also a community activist. He is a brother who is a very acute and sharp in politics. He's going to be joining us in a moment. And then in the next hour, we'll be joined by Nira Muhammad, who is a screenwriter, who is an author and host of the podcast Queen Talks with Nira. So we'll have her take on some of these conversations as well. So make sure you stick around. It's going to be a lot to get to. All right, folks, let's start off the conversation with this new poll that says that Americans, 3 out of 4 Americans are saying that, guess what? The government is too old. Now, according to a new Business Insider poll, take a look at this, folks. Americans think the government is too old, and wide margins support term limits, age caps, and cognitive tests based on an Insider Morning Consult poll. Now, take a look. I'm going to share with you just a little bit of this, and then we'll bring Rashad into the conversation. It says, quote, America's government is too old, and most Americans want dramatic changes to address the nation's expanding gerontocracy. According to a new Insider Morning Consult poll, congressional term limits and medical examinations for elected leaders are among the measures garnering overwhelming support among poll respondents. Misgivings about age extend throughout the federal government, from the House of Representatives and Senate to the presidency and courts, the survey indicated. Now, such concerns transcend party politics. Both Republicans and Democrats feel similarly, and age. Older respondents favor term limits even more than their younger counterparts, while majorities consider Congress out of touch on the issues as it pertains to their generation. Young people felt particularly unrepresented, the poll has found. All right, I'm going to bring in Rashad because we're going to have some more information to share with you about this. But let me get my man Rashad in on this. Peace and blessings, Rashad. Good to talk to you again, sir. How you doing on this Friday?
Bro. Hey, happy Friday, man. We made it here.
You're right.
Start the holiday break off early. I call weekends holidays, how the world going.
Okay. I love it. I'm all about changing the language, bro. I'm all about
extending the holiday weekend.
Hey, look, like I said before the show, I'm for a 4-day work week, y'all. I am for a 4-day work week. I think our weekend should be 3. Like, we always be like, oh, the weekend is 3 days. No, it's 2. It might be down to 1.5 because you got to think about preparing for Monday. So that takes up a lot of brain space.
Happy on Sunday. No, but I think that's the perfect segue for Farajii. Like, we got to catch up. America got to catch up on a few things: the work weeks and the fact that our democracy and our elected officials need to represent, a newer and fresher generation of young folk. Right? Our society has the first time in the world that we're now in. You have this emergence of intergenerational representation, right? And everyone's engaging. And why not does our democracy and our governmental structures and representatives not reflect the populations of whom they're serving? You're absolutely right. I'm like, let's give a silent clap for this. America is too old, right? And these different criteriums that they want to see put in place, right? These cognitive things, these spaces to make sure that our elected officials are vibrant, they're connected, they're relatable to the shifts and the progressions of the world. I think what we're seeing right now is us really embracing the idea that, hey, this government and this country cannot continue to be ran by old white men that's outdated with these patriarchal supremacist ideologies and these mindsets of places that are oppressing people that's not relevant to how people want to see their own identities, how people want to show up and express their own freedom and liberation. I think it's about time. I think this is a great conversation, and I hope that not just the policy reflect that, but the way that we are moving as a populace, the way that we're voting in favor or against something has to reflect that same mindset. If we want to see change, we got to be mindful of what change looks like as on a representative stance.
Man, let me tell you, brother, absolutely, Rashad. And I think there are a couple of things at play, which is why so many people are saying that government is too old. And we've talked about age of Biden, who's 79, Trump. We've talked about this before, and some people say, let's stop being ageist, don't be an ageist. And I'm not being an ageist, but I think that when there's not a healthy balance of youth with elders, right? Mm-hmm. You can't expect there to be any healthy progression. There can't be any real growth. And what we're seeing, and I'm saying that this is across the board, folks. This is why I think this is very interesting. This is across the board. When you look at the ages of not just the president, but people in the Senate and Congress, in the House of Representatives, when you look at that age group, when you look at the ages of those who are on the Supreme Court, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at the ages of those individuals who are determining the policies, making the big decisions about the direction that our country is going to take, where are they working from? You remember Strom Thurmond? I know you heard of him.
Yeah.
Bro. Now, look, the crazy part about it is, and this is wild, because everybody knew it. Strom Thurmond was a racist. Everybody knew it, right? He was an old white racist. Like, he came out with it, right? It's not no racism. This is actual fact. So when you're talking about a person, you talking about having a conversation about age, talking about mental cognitive abilities, when you're talking about attitudes, like all of those things need to stand in play. Now, does that mean you just go and just be like, how old are you? You 60, go. You know what I mean? You don't just start cutting people off, but you do have to, I think that there is some real credence to making sure that the government and those leaders understand all of the evolving dynamics, the nuances of governing people, the nuances of the demographic, who have an understanding and a healthy view about all of the new interests that we the people have at this point. This is not 1950s America. Hell, it's not even 2000 America. This is 2022 America, where things are moving fast, culture's changing every day. We're guided from everybody's opinions. We're guided by technology. We're guided by our pursuit of finding ourselves, self-expression, and happiness. There are a lot of different things that are happening in this country, and we need a government to reflect that. And I don't think that's crazy to ask for.
No, I don't think it's a space of like us practicing or enforcing some level of ageism either. Like I think you're nailing it right on the head, Farajii. It's being completely transparent in how to reflect those that whom you should be servicing, right? I think it's quite appalling to me to think of our elected officials being of this older age spectrum, right? And in society, these are the ages where we are leaning towards or being, I would say, brought up to say, okay, at these certain ages, you're supposed to be in your retirement stages of life, right? Where you're supposed to be more relaxed. You want to just disconnect a little bit. You want to enjoy the fruits of all of your labors. But then when it transitions to the world of politics, those are the generations who are holding these powerful seats, right? And if you're not as mindful, if you're not as active, if you're not as healthy, and you're not being willing to relearn, retrain, and adapt, then that will reflect in how our society is operating, how our laws are abiding to how we should maneuver and operate in this world as engaged citizens. And it's also reflecting on the space of how do we feel supported. Is our policies reflective of the times? Is our funding being allocated to what we think is best fit for us? And on a lighter note, it's in the space of, all right, we have these elected officials in this new world of technology and innovation. And then we see where every now and then something hits on the headlines where one of our elected officials has leaked something, has tweeted something because they're not caught up into the social gadgets that we're using, right? So then it comes down to a face of global security, right? Because they're holding all of this intellectual property, but it's not adapting to the world that we're in, that it puts us at a place of harm.
Damn, bro, that's deep. You absolutely right on that, Rashad. Like, that is true. That lack of knowledge about technology, that unwillingness to learn to keep up, right? And I know even with me, Rashad, and I don't know if you experienced this yet, right? I'm 43, so I know for me, as I'm looking at how the world is moving, there are some things that I'm personally choosing to hold on to, right? Like stuff that I learned, that I grew up on, certain ideas, certain principles that I grew up on in the 80s and 90s and all of that. But then there's some things that I'm slowly recognizing, like, you know what? The world is not at this place right now.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying this is as an individual, as a dad, as a husband, all of those different roles that I play, that you know what, I gotta think in mind. Like even when I'm relating to my children, to be in a space where I'm just like, oh man, I gotta make sure that I'm up on some of the stuff that they're up on, right? But that's on a micro level. On a macro level, when you're talking about governing all these different people, you can't be so you could be solid in some principles. Absolutely, we need that. But if it's true and good principles, those true and good principles will help dictate how you handle change and evolution and growth, right?
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like you just, because the world is moving so fast. The world is moving so fast, bro. And I think that for government in particular, it's interesting that that even in America, when we have these conversations like healthcare, people act like national healthcare is like, oh no, oh God, we could not nationalize our healthcare system, free healthcare, free education. Oh no, we couldn't do that, even though we got a nation full of debtors. When we talking about all of these other issues, it seems like we always want to, and I'm saying we as the country, America always wants to put itself out as being this very progressive place. But then you look at other countries, you're like, they're a little bit further along than we are.
We're not as progressive as we think,
right?
Even down to the work week, all right? Affordable college of education, right? Free education, universal health care, right? The innovation, even down to our militarization and things of that sort. We're not the greatest country in the world anymore. Like, we have to accept that, and that's not taking away my level or my love or my respectability for the country and my citizenship, but we have to face the reality, right? Like you said, if we're willing to grow, we have to be mindful to take accountability of where we stagger and where we're actually moving towards. And right now, when it comes to representation, we have seen great strides, but everything cannot continue to be an exception. Right, electing a younger governor here in one county of Florida, down to electing your first Latino U.S. congressman, things of that sort. Everything does not have to be the exception. When does it become a norm that we can start to see these representations magnified, right? It's just having 1 or 5 millennials or younger generations sitting amongst how many elected officials of U.S. Congress. That 5 out of the 100 plus 1 is not equitable, right? And I think that's when we got to come to a place of, right, we have to have our elected officials, these people with the power and the strokes of a pen, right, have to be mindful of the new world, the new language, the new social norms, and how are we transcribing it. I can only imagine taking someone and putting them and fast forward them and how farther along this society has moved, like you said, from 2000 to now to 2020. It has transminded, but to have an elected official that actually has been in that one particular office since 1960s is mind-boggling. Think of all the different social movements.
And that was 1960s in their prime, when their minds and their values was consistent with the people that they were governing. Can you imagine being in that place and then being in 2022? It's 1960s, 1970s. You was in your prime. By the time you get to 2022, you're 40 years in. Man, your mind is not there. And this is, again, folks, this is not about ageism. This is about the reality. Like, as you get older, it gets a little bit harder for you to adjust to the changes of people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of us are so stuck, right, in our ways. And you know how we say we stuck in our ways? Hell, you start, after a while, Rashad, you start telling people, you just going to have to accept me for who I am. Right. Like, because I ain't changing. You know,
that's, like, that's good for the cards game or the Friday and you watch it. Believe me, but come on, how many times we don't watch our president just stutter over words? He making up
words.
I'm like, man, he's about to expand the Webster dictionary, because at this point, half of these things don't even make meaningful sense.
And look, I remember watching President Obama in action. Folks, y'all probably remember this too. He can keep up with certain things. And I'm not talking about just cognitively. I'm talking about just culturally, being able to keep up. And Obama, Mr. President, his hair grayed over 8 years. It went from black to gray, right? But if for some reason there was still a youthfulness to him, right? He still kept this kind of youthful energy to him. And that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily about age as much as about keeping the spirit of life in you, where you like, you know what? I want to wake up every day and I want to do this job. I want to play this role. You know what I'm saying? And this ain't just a paycheck. Once you get to a place in your job, it's just a paycheck.
Right.
That's not necessarily a good place to be with the thing that you say that you love to do.
Right.
If that's your passion, if you're working in your passion, in your purpose, and you feel like, but you wake up every day and be like, I'll just go in there just for the paycheck. I get it. Like I would do, I ask, and you probably had the same conversation with young people. What is a job that you would do every single day, even if you didn't get paid for it? That's most likely your passion job.
Right.
That's most likely the thing you are born to do. Media. And I have done that. I've woke up every single day, did this thing for free for years. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing that I love to do. All right, so let me go to this very quickly, and then I want to get some comments from our folks. Keenan and Ariel, let's put up the screen quote 2. Here's what they said in this insider poll. They said age in general is important to voters. 7 in 10 said it was at least somewhat important when deciding who to vote for in an election. But age itself is often trumped by competing interests, such as the candidate's stances on issues, experience, candidate health, and their party affiliation. So age is still important, but this is not just about age. All right, let me go to some of our comments because folks are checking in very, very quickly. All right, let me go to Corinna. Corinna, you checked in and you said, we must also be willing to run for elected office. Speaking of young people, we need more lawyers as only 5% of this country are Black. Facts.
Correct.
Facts. So you're talking about breaking through that glass ceiling. I see lawyers. Here's another industry, Corinna, that you probably thought about as well. There aren't a lot of Black architects. I think we only make up about 1% of the workforce of that industry. There aren't a lot of Black architects. And this goes back to your point, Rashad, about how progressive we really are. We've moved further along in terms of racial relations in this country, I think, compared to a lot of other places. We move further along given the history of the transatlantic slave trade and so many other race issues like Jim Crow and all of those things. But we're literally still breaking glass ceilings.
Right.
When it comes to some of these industries like architecture, being architects, and some of these other industries where Black people are not represented, either not even 5% representation in those industries.
Yeah, and I think it brings up to what this is alluding to with the 5% of lawyers being in the country to even lesser representation to architect. It speaks to, it's not the fact that the qualifications, are we not worthy of holding these positions or operating in these professions? It's the fact of getting way of old rhetoric. These your segregational policies, systemic oppressions, these qualifiers that is putting us there, that is mainly outdated. These are gatekeepers in itself, right? Age criteriums, yeah, they were initially placed in our U.S. Constitution, but at the end of the day, when we look back and we have to be mindful of where we want to go as a country, we may have to go and revisit these old historical documents. We may have to put some amendments on board to adapt to us to be there, because if not, we're losing our stance. And our country, the constituents, and everyone else is at the space of getting the lesser end of what we are to be receiving, what we are deserving of. It calls into play. But I also think what comes into a play as well, it's not that we're not qualified for the positions, but what we must do as the populace, as the people, we must get out of these old mindsets of telling us how to go around our political aspirations, our values, and things of that sort. We must, and I reiterate, we must lose this hindsight of comfortability with name recognition.
That's fact.
With family recognition.
That's a huge fact. That's a huge fact. FJ Nitty, you checked in and said, boy, young people got stuff messed up out here right now. I want to know what you mean, FJ.
Yeah,
FJ Nitty, talk to me. I need to know what you mean. That's real general. So I don't know. When you talking about government,
I can't respond to that. I don't know.
I don't know. What's messed up, FJ Nitty? What's going on? All right, you don't like my music. You said government is the worst way to organize a society. No one understands your situation better than you. I would agree. Change, and Rashad, I certainly would love to hear that, because you work in the nonprofit sector. So your relationship and understanding of how government work and its impact is much more pivotal, I think, in this regard, in that space. But normally, change comes from, quote unquote, the bottom up, from the people all the way up to the government, right? Sometimes government, but if you notice policy, that's the thing. Like any type of progressive policy that this country has made, whether it's for Black people or any other group of people, marginalized community or marginalized people, it's because those people did say enough is enough. We're going to force the government to hear us. We're going to force the government to address this issue. And we're going to force this government to institutionalize some policy that's going to change this situation. So I would agree with you. I would agree with you there. You don't like my music, but what do you see on the other side, or not really other side, but from the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, I think nonprofit sectors are like the most perfect microcosm to like the governmental structures and bureaucracy, right? Because it operates in its own little pocket in this larger scheme of this nonprofit industrial complex, which is then connected to federal government, state government, local governance, philanthropy, and all the other ones. And what I gained out of it has to be this two-pronged approach, right? It has to be this space where not only you're galvanizing, raising awareness, educating, and convening those that are from the grassroots level, the communities, the peoples, and the populations of whom you're serving, to bring this level of awareness and momentum shift. But also you have to make sure as well in the nonprofit sector that you have board members that is adaptable, that is progressive, that is mindful, that is using their networks to restore, rebuild, or reframe relationships. But you also in the space where we're in my particular setting, you have to educate funders, right? That is, you can't continuously put out these criteriums, these policies, and you're prioritizing what is valuable to be funded at this point that's going to directly implicate the communities, because now you're taking money to serve one particular section of the pie, but you're leaving others out. And with that gap, that causes other social issues, right? So I think even when you connect the microcosm to nonprofit to the larger governmental structures, it's one and the same. Yes, you need these movement builders, but you also have to be strategic enough to have those candidates and these elected officials that are aware, in line, and attuned that when the movement of people say this has to be done or there needs to be a drastic change, you have this elected official who's a public servant. We must be mindful that we need to elect public servants, right, rather than a politician. So when you have a public servant in office, they are using their power, their pen, and their influence to translate policy to enact and complement the vision of the people. And without one of the same, we won't get anywhere. And it continues to be this Ferris wheel of slow progression and then a slow of passing the baton until someone else gets caught into a scandal, someone else unfortunately passes away, or that this position or agency or institution is dissolved and is recreated for some other purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get a couple more comments before we take our first pause here. Robin, you checked in and said people don't like ageism, but we need to start putting age limits in place. As a society, we can't move forward with 80-year-old presidents and 75-year-old plus members of Congress / Senate. Facts. I don't think we can. Now, there already is a younger number of congressional people, Congress people. There's a young group of folks there, but they get ostracized. They get scrutinized. They get put on blast, whether you're on the Republican or the Democratic side. So they're sometimes being told, "Oh, your ideas are too progressive. They're too much. They're not really." This is not the right time. And that's the one thing that's going to hold us back. I mean, look, the first thing when we talked about this, I shared with everyone based on this poll that the American people are looking for dramatic changes, not incremental changes, dramatic changes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to be an ageist or to throw shade. But the older you get, the less dramatic you become.
Less willing you're able
You're not willing to take those bold steps, man. If you've been in Congress, if you've been at the Supreme Court, if you're working in some government role and you've been doing that for 30, 40, 50 years, You're not taking no bold step.
It's a day
Like
by
we see the president doing it now, but you know how many years it took to even get him to that place? Like he might talk about, you know, racism. He might talk about pay wage issues and all of those things, but it took him years.
Right. You know what, Farajii? It's what it is was. If you know these elected officials and you're in politics, you know that these older elected officials have younger staffers around them. So it's not as though there's not qualified candidates. There are not persons with the lived experience despite their age, because they are the ones that's actually drafting the policies. They're the ones that's in the back tables in the cabinet office, operating with lobbyists and talking to corporations and typing up memos and things of these sorts, what are the daily operations of bureaucracy and government on a federal level, right? So we have these personnels, they're just not in the outward facing seats. When does the one person whom that they're servicing and they're working for take it upon themselves and say, you know what, I think I've done my part. Let me get behind you, and we get a much younger leadership to represent our district or our country.
There it is. Yep. Final comment, Real Brooklyn, you checked in, and I love your take on this, Real Brooklyn. You say change comes from something bad happening. Every country that has experienced change always comes from death or something else that forces society to think another way. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's why that even in the uncertainty of the times that we're living in this country, Rashad, that does not mean that all is lost. It is pretty much, here's the thing, here's a paradigm shift I want to share with everybody. How about instead of us thinking that the country is going down, the country is going wayward, or the country is about to just completely lose it, we see this as an opportunity to bring some new ideas to the table. Mm-hmm. How about if we all make that paradigm, that cultural paradigm shift on how we see this country, how we see the place that we are born in, or the place that we've come to, or the place that we are living our lives in, that instead of us being, oh my gosh, gloom and doom, gloom and doom, gloom and doom, that we see this country and say, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity to introduce new ideas. Why not? Because guess what? The uncertainty is a sign that certain things don't work anymore. The uncertainty is a sign, is an indicator that there needs to be a change. So this is the perfect time for us to have some deeper conversations about ourselves, our role in our relationship, our role in this country, our relationship with the government, and most importantly, seeing the value of ourselves. This is the perfect time. This is the best time to do it. And what made the civil rights movement so powerful is that there was a level of uncertainty, but look how much change happened in the midst of that uncertainty. That's what makes it. The moment we start to feel comfortable, Rashad, and you get the final word on this, bro. The moment we start to feel comfortable, the moment we feel like we smooth sailing, that's when the moment when we start to kind of go back. And in a country with so many different people, so many diverse interests, so many different changes, we can't afford to go back, bro. Yeah. We got the final word.
Look, I just watched the interview speaking on this in context of Baltimore and our social progressions with the squeegee situation, and they spoke on it. Our good sister here that does amazing work said exactly that. If we are still placing these old thought processes, these old personnels in positions of power, when our society is unconsciously and purposely pushing us forward, when they're not willing to make these drastic changes, it creates a causation for bad things, right? So when we do know that we can go outside of the norm and bring innovation and thought and other strategies to the place, and we come into a place of, okay, well, we don't have the data that can show that. Well, we actually do have the data that once you change a mindset, you change laws to be progressive, you change how you approach and you engage, you change the fundings, that it increases likelihood, optimism, productivity, right? That the uncertainty to good does not, should not reiterate the enforcement of going back our same ways, right? We can't push a policy around a college affordability, universal health care, a woman's right of her own body. And then when we do, and it becomes a place where, well, now we got to unravel the onion a little bit more. That shouldn't cause those persons to say, no, that's too much change too soon. Let's stop. And when you decide to stop and halt progression, it puts us back further than where we were possibly going in the front end.
So true. All right, folks, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears from talking about the state of our government to the state of the workforce. As now we talked about quiet quitting, right? Where you're talking about you just kind of doing the bare minimum, you're just doing the minimum of your job. Well, guess what? Corporations and companies are fighting back, and now they are using surveillance platforms, surveillance technology to take a look at how they can stem the tide of quiet quitting. I'm gonna share with you why this is not a good thing and give you some ideas on what we can do to for companies not to get into this place. If your company has to start using surveillance to track what you're doing every minute of the workday, that's a problem. We'll have a conversation about that. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, I wanted to have another conversation as we switch gears a little bit to talk about where we are in the workplace. And now, y'all know that I'm always keeping my eyes out on the changing and evolving culture of work in this country, especially given what the impact of COVID-19 has done to take many of us out of the workplace, put us in a remote location in our homes and in other remote locations. But now that COVID, it seems to be kind of at the tail end of things, that many people are coming back into the office. But guess what? Even with that, companies are still saying, you may not fully be working or as productive as you can be. And so now they're finding that large and medium-sized companies have invested in surveillance technology to look at those who may be just doing the bare minimum or just the minimum for their roles and trying to prevent quiet quitting. And so this is from Inc. magazine that says that don't spy on quiet quitters, do this instead. We're at a point, folks, where quiet quitting has become such a phenomenon for a lot of workers that companies are saying, look, I need to track what you're doing and how you're doing every minute of the workday. That's crazy. I mean, are we at this point? So we go from working in the office to, because of COVID, we go from working at home, even though there are studies to show that remote work hasn't decreased the productivity of workers, but now that productivity either stayed the same or even gone up in some cases. People feel more empowered to do their job. They feel like they're able to get a more peace of mind, and they're able to really focus and concentrate. Now we're going back into the office, and now there's this heavy oversight. All right, let me share with you very quickly, get your thoughts, and then we get Rashad in on this as well. Here's what Inc. magazine had to say about this whole idea of surveilling or spying on quiet quitters. It said, quote, to deal with quiet quitting, business leaders should not spy on their workers. Instead, they should either hire only workers who are deeply engaged with the company's mission, or perhaps more realistically, make it clear to quiet quitters in their employ what they must do to keep their jobs. This comes to mind in considering the growing popularity of worker surveillance tools among business leaders. Now, this was coming out of the Wall Street Journal, where they reported about 33% of large and medium-sized companies use such systems, many of which includes constant monitoring of nearly everything workers do on their devices. Business leaders can choose to view these details for each individual worker or use software such as ActiveTrack that includes privacy controls, anonymized and aggregated data, and unlike competing products, does not support keystroke logging, camera access, video recording, or email reading or counting, noted the journal. What? Wow. So we're at this point now that you got to tell workers, you got to tell companies, don't spy on your workers. All right, I want to get your take on this, guys. And I'm talking to my online culture crew, and then we'll bring in Rashad. Let's bring in Rashad in. What do you think about this phenomenon of using surveillance technologies? Shalenda, you checked in this, that people don't want to go to work to be spied on. Productivity will go down tremendously with that kind of morale.
Look, this made me like, bro, we need to read our terms and agreements, even our job contracts at this point. At what time do we get rid of Big Brother?
We don't.
Bro.
We don't. I mean, like, I did this. No, look, let me tell you, to find out that companies are doing this, like, what? Here's the thing, Rashad. Here's the thing, right? People, and this is where the evolution starts. I get it. Again, we have, if you're looking at capitalism and how this system runs, capitalism is about money, right? It's about production, money. And capitalism don't see people as people, right? There's a certain level of this system of things that don't see people as people. Instead, this system of things see people as cogs in a wheel, right? So given all of that, we're in a space, we're at a time where you got to start to like whip on people. Remember, we had a conversation, Rashad, about Elon Musk, how you tell him forcing people to go back to work. You're forced to go back to work. And you better show. Hey, wait a minute. We just came out of a pandemic about public health and wellness. We just came out of a time period where people are asking themselves, is work more important than life?
Yes.
And then you start to do this bullshit.
So is now work more important than my own privacy? At what point? And then it brings back to this place of like, when do we stop? In this point, it's the employer, right? When do you stop blaming the employees for the level of productivity versus looking back and assessing your organization, how it operates, the systems, the culture, the morale, and how you're building up a productive person that is your employer by supporting them, investing in them so that they can feel that they're being valued, they're being invested in, and being recognized. With that, then you increase productivity, right? But a quiet quitter is only operating in that space because they're either becoming disengaged, they're feeling unvalued, they're overextended, and they're experiencing burnout. So what is the job doing that's causing all of these ripple effects that make someone wants to go and look elsewhere for employability? It is not on the employee. Most of the times it has to be reflective of the employer, right? If you create a productive company that all of its employees feel valued, they feel seen, you're doing this, you're giving them incentives, you're fairly compensating them, right? You have some level of upward mobility, right? You bring in job security, then there wouldn't be that many instances of a quiet quitter or you having to look at retention, right, of employer retention. But if you're doing your part by being a fair and equitable employer, then you will get the productivity that's needed. And it also comes back to our previous conversation, Farajii. Countries around the world and employers around the world are not making everyone work these long hours and working 5 to 7 days a week.
Let me tell you something.
More productive,
dead, bro.
By giving people their own time, their own space, the option to work hybrid. I thought that's where we were going at. So it's back to this conversation. Why are we shifting backwards when COVID was the perfect gray area to be progressive?
Because guess what? Money needs to be made, bro. And these companies don't see it. They don't see, like, again, you're a cog in a wheel. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I want to go to our online culture crew because folks are checking in and sharing it, but money needs to be made. Mm-hmm. Look, conscious thought. You checked in. You said, don't be fooled, people. Businesses and corporations are compiling data in order to justify the quote unquote capital expenditures that will eventually lead to broad automation of their respective workplaces spaces. Yeah, that's true. But in some spaces like nonprofit work, you need people, right? You in certain sectors, you absolutely need people. But it's crazy that you putting the squeeze on people's, and then more importantly, like their privacy. And I get it. Like if you have, and you know, they say one bad apple can ruin the bunch. If you have a couple of incidents where somebody's on a work computer and they pulling up porn or they doing some personal, they on their work computer doing their side job or whatever the case may be. I understand, but that doesn't mean that opens the door for this level of intrusion, even because at the end of the day, if a person is invested in doing the company's mission, and I'm like Inc. Magazine, find people that want to do the job. Mm-hmm. That's all it comes down to. You don't have to. If I want to do the job, I'm going to do the job. Now, you want me to do the job like, oh, I want you to do it right now. And I understand the importance and value of deadlines. I'm not pushing back on that. But find people who just want to do the job. Jayla, you checked in. Good to hear from you, sis. You said this ain't nothing new. They've been doing this forever on the jobs, even before computers came into play. You always got someone spying on the workers, reporting to their employees what they are doing. Yeah, those mid-level managers. Some of you might be mid-level managers. Some of you may have been doing that, right? You spy on for the higher ups in your job. I get it. But guess what? People want a more fulfilling work experience. They want a more and I think this is a more valuable work experience, right? They don't want to just go to work. Nobody wants to just live to work. Those days are over, bro. I push back on that 100% because life is too short. COVID showed us that.
Agreed.
Seeing all these crises and calamities and all of these things that we have to deal with each day that we get up out of our bed, that the God blesses us to see another day. Life is too short. I'm not going down in history as, man, he would work his ass off at this place. I'm giving all of my time, my energy, my talent. And guess what? I have worked at places where I've sacrificed myself. I've sacrificed my time, energy, and talent. And guess what? When it was time for me to move on, they ain't give me a proper send-off. They didn't show me that, all right, well, look like you got to go. Bet. Bet. You know what I'm saying? Just like I hear a lot of companies say that COVID in some ways have messed them up because it forced them to like readjust their work model because people were working hybrid, and as a result of that, they had to make some change. I don't give a damn about no entity, because that's all these corporate. I don't care what company you work for. It's not a human being. It's a business entity. It's not a living or breathing organism. It is a brick and mortar business entity. It has no life. So if somebody comes to you and try to act like your job is the end all be all, and y'all know I hate them type of people. They always like, you ain't got no damn life. That's all you do. I'm up here all day and all, man, y'all can kiss my ass on that, bro. Like, because I don't live for that. I don't live for that. And this is absolutely insane. Go ahead, Rashad. I ain't mean to get on no rant, bro. I just hate this stuff, bro.
I agree, bro. I agree. Prioritizing life over company and corporation has to be the value of this country, right? If we want to see the shift in what we were talking about before to political representation, to our policy shift, then we cannot continue to be corralled by corporate greed and the fact of us making productivity off of the labor of person's own mental health, physical health, social health, and a sense of them feeling as though they belong, right? A sense of low productivity is just all of remnants of not a sense of belonging, not aligned to your purpose, and not working in your passion. So when you said, won't you just go out and find people that actually want to do the job? There's people that still want to be employed. We're not a lazy people. We're not a lazy country. It's just the fact that we have now learned to, okay, I have choices. I have options. And if I'm not going to be recognized, I'm not going to be deemed worthy, and I'm not going to be respected of such, I'm not going to give this corporation, this business my all, because I still need something to go home to.
Oh no. And that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's a passion job, at the end of the day, like I have this thing, I try to, keep my work stuff at work. Because when I come home, I'm in dad mode, I'm in hubby mode, I'm in family mode. I'm not trying to think about no damn reports and all that stuff, man. That's not healthy. That's just not healthy. And the American work culture, it wants you, it has always encouraged that for years. Y'all know we've been all conditioned to believe that you take your work home, you carry this. Man, that thing is over, bro. I push back on that. Do not carry, unless it's certain type of roles. Certain roles you're going to carry home with you. But if you're just working in the office, and you know that even if you're not there, that work is still going to be there.
It's still going to be there. It's still going
to be there. And people be trying to make it seem like, hey, if you don't do it today, the world is going to blow up tomorrow. Please. I've been here 20 years. Ain't nothing fall. Ain't nothing explode. No. That's why you got quiet quitters. Because folks ain't going for the okie doke no more, Rashad. All right, let me get a couple of more voices in here. Robin, you said these companies don't care about human capital. The company wants productivity when they need to be doing additional training to diversify the employee skills so they aren't bored and burned out. Facts.
Agreed.
Facts. So you checked in and you said, as long as the workers are aware that they are being monitored, it's not wrong. If you're doing the right thing, you have nothing to worry about. That's why I'm pushing to own and not work for anyone. That's fine if you want to do it. But again, that's not let me just tell you, as one who has been on both sides of the table, I've hired people, I've ran my own thing, and then I've been, of course, an employee. The moment you say to a person that's coming into your workforce, hey, we do monitoring, of every person. So as soon as you log in, you're being monitored. Now I'm gonna be upfront. You ain't gonna have that person for long.
No, it's just too much.
It's too much. It's too much control. It's too much invasion of privacy.
Mm.
And what's wrong? And I mean, look, we are grown adults. If people know that they already, and we already inherently know what's a violation. If you're watching some madness on your computer, you know that's a violation. You can't even deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're checking your email, you know what I mean? Some of us might work at jobs where we look at our phones. Like I see some of these jobs, and I'm not talking about the very high risk or high profile, like when you're a doctor or something like that, or you're a lawyer. But some of these jobs acting like you can't look at your damn phone.
Mm-hmm.
And you be like,
being locked in.
You be like, yo, you work at a fast food joint. But like, yeah, man, we can't look at our phones. Hey, why do we gotta treat people as if they don't are like children? You treating grown ass men and women like they children.
Yeah.
First thing, the clocking in, clocking out, you got 15 minutes. All right. And then you got a joker walking around every side. You got a joker walking around like, yeah, man, you've been here a little how long? 13 minutes. All right, you got 2 minutes.
Over.
Mom, I am not in prison.
And you are not my overseer, right? Like, brother, it's your time, it's your job to clock my time. Like, is that you can't be doing your job if you worried about my job.
You're worried about me. You're checking in with me, like what time you clock in? Like, oh my gosh, what time you want to get clocked out? You know?
No one can be leaning over my shoulder like that unless it's a hard deadline. But it comes out, I think we've seen it, like they alluded to it. I think we know it, right? So even on some of the systems, and that's why I now use my own laptop. Like I got to that place that I'm gonna own my own intellectual property. One, and then if I log into your software, I'm logging completely off, right? After I'm done with it. But they have these things that it tells you your level of productivity, right? Oh, you would use this amount of time during the day or during the week checking emails. You use this time to meet with people. You use this time to work. And you're like, man, I didn't even know that they had this data collection thing implanted on here, right? And unless you use it to mold your level of productivity, it actually is a level of surveillance, right? So you know that they're tracking it for some way, somehow to show some level of productivity or how you should be managing your time that's work related. But that, again, it is still a place of unsettlement, right? It feels as though you're being cornered to where as though you can't be innovative, you can't be thoughtful, you can't do things out of the box. Right. And I think it actually is going to play to morale. And once morale is down, productivity is down. And once productivity is down, why do you exist? Because you're no longer servicing the purpose of which you were created to do.
That's true. And to add to that, brother, you don't trust your employees. You don't empower your employees with trust and confidence that they're going to do the job. Right. And that's why when you remember when a lot of these new tech companies at the time, like Google, Facebook, and some of these other major tech companies years ago, when they first started, they broke the barrier on innovation because they had open workspaces, physically open workspaces. They had catered to making sure that folks can take breaks whenever they feel kind of a little burnt out, they can feel a little sluggish. They had created work environments that were, you could dress down, you could wear tennis shoes, you have a place to take a little nap. All of these places, right? These were like major innovations in the work culture in this country. And they started really in a lot of these tech companies. And they found, like, guess what? These people were still thriving. They were still producing. They were still creating in a work environment. If you create an environment where people feel like they're being overseen and they're constantly controlled, we have so many control levers coming from outside of us. There's no wonder that people rebel and their personal expression is about freedom, because there's so many control issues in this country. We want to control how we think. We want to control what we do. There's so many control issues. Yeah, people are like, you know what? No more control. I'm pushing back. No more oversight. You can watch me. You want to watch me? I'm going to give you a show. You know what I mean? People are just breaking through a lot of this stuff. And that's when we're talking about the progression. It's like a child, and I'm sure some of us probably have been that child, very, very strict parents, very, very strict household. You're going to be this. You're going to believe that. all of those things. And then the moment that we saw an opening, oh, boom, we hit them. You know, they talk about the pastors or preachers' kids. Boom. They went out and they doing craziness. They doing madness. There's something about the human being that you got to give a balance in understanding the balance of controlling, guiding. There's something about that. And still allowing a person to have personal expression, still allowing a person some sense of freedom about to do what they want and be who they be. You got the final word on this, bro.
Yeah, I think they can't remove the whips and the chains for spying algorithms, right? We cannot be slaves to the work that we do and what we must do as employers. If you don't feel as though you're being fairly compensated, well respected, you're utilizing your talents and other things, you do like LeBron said, and sometimes you just got to take your talent to South Beach. Can you come back? Can you come back and have your jersey be put up in the rafters? Yes. Once they recognize and they value you. But sometimes it's good to chuck the deuces, come back, get some more credentials, get some more credits and some more other things and other promotions. But at a place where you feel as though you can't be yourself and not only your manager, whom is the person that's leaning over your shoulder, but they got a chip inside of your tools that you're using to do the work to monitor you. It's like, at what point, man? You didn't sign up to be working within a jail, and we got to be able to liberate our employees with a mindset that employer got to be mindful to put things in places that fosters productivity.
Absolutely. And P. Jackson, you said there's not a place you can go without some level of surveillance. And that's why if you are supposed to, and you're absolutely right, and that's why if you go in a workspace, if you go in, if you work remotely, you don't need somebody tracking you. We're being tracked in so many different other ways. How much you going to track the human being? At some point, you're basically saying without saying to the human being, you can't be trusted. And if that is not a good place for any company to have with their relationship with the employee, to say, we can't trust you, we don't believe that you're doing what you say you can do, that's not a good place to start the relationship. Definitely not good. Just hire somebody that want to do your job. Other than that, move on, man. Move on. All right, Rashad, I know your time has been very, very well spent. I truly appreciate you, brother. And we got to reconnect with you very, very soon. But keep up the great work. I know you're doing some great work in the nonprofit sector. I know you got the family life all going. So you got a lot of balls in the air that you're juggling, brother. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And as always, brother, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Hey, I'm grateful for all of that you mentioned, and I'm grateful for being reconnected with you all. Be back soon, as always, and it's always for the culture. Even on and off camera, we've been doing this work for the culture for a long time. Thank you for this work, brother. Continue being great. And man, these conversations today, man, it lit me up, brother. I just hope that we willing to change, and then change, it doesn't come with surveillance. All right.
There it is. My guy, Rashad, checking in. Always good to check in, man. Rashad, what's your social so people can hop on and follow the work that you're doing?
Hey, all of my socials is my name, first and last name. On Instagram at Rashad Staten, Facebook at Rashad Staten. Hit me up. I'm connected, man. Continue to do the work. It's many of us out here. I always say we're not dinosaurs. We can be unicorns because we're doing purposeful work and we need the recognition. But there's plenty of us like yourself that's out here doing the work and continue to champion the champions, right? So thank you for being another superhero that's helping to save this world, brother. I'll see you next time.
Man. Thank you, brother. And I'll reconnect with you next time. My man, Rashad, make sure y'all follow him and all the great things he's doing. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a different conversation. Let's talk about Boston Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, who is under a lot of controversy. He's been suspended for his team for the rest of the year for having a consensual, intimate relationship with a female staffer. But his future with the Lakers is indefinite. But here's the part of the conversation I want to have, because I'm starting to see the trend, right? That when you are in a high-profile position, does that mean that your life should automatically be open up for public scrutiny? That's what we're going to have. We're going to check in with Culture crew member Nira Muhammad to get her take on that. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about some upcoming things in the movies and so much more. So stay with us. There's a lot coming up in the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Welcome back to our second hour of today's show. Folks, if you're just tuning in, we truly, truly welcome you to The Culture. Big shout out to our online culture crew. Hopefully the conversations, and looks like the conversations on our YouTube and our Facebook pages as we're streaming live, is always bussin'. Always vivid, colorful, a lot of good things that are happening. So big shout out to all of our new watchers here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Also, make sure you'll continue to show your support to the Black Star Network. Your financial donations is absolutely critical in this day and time, especially to sustain the great work that we're doing here with Black media. So go to our website now at blackstarnetwork.com to support us, continue to share the information, and you can, again, check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Now, also, if you haven't had a chance, you can follow me on my social media platform, folks. I'm right there, The Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, and Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. I'm always looking for new followers, especially on Twitter and Instagram. So if you got something that you want to show me, if you got some things that you want to talk with me, if you want to continue to build even after we are offline, then I would love to connect with you. Let's connect on social media on my Twitter and Instagram pages, because I would love to hear from you. Again, that's The Real Farajii on Instagram and Farajii on Twitter and Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the big controversial case of Boston Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, who came out, and it has been decided upon that he would be suspended for the rest of the 2022-23 NBA season for the year. And the future of the head coach, of the black head coach for the Celtics, is still up in the air. Now, this is all stemming from what they say is months-long investigation of the head coach. And this is the owner, Wick Grouseback. He says suspension of the coach time, Ime Udoka. Let me make sure I'm saying this now. Ime Udoka. The result of months-long investigation, they found that there were multiple violations of company policies that were committed, not giving any specifics, but they were saying multiple violations of the head of policies that were committed by the head coach. There are stories and other rumors of running that are online right now saying that the person, the female staffer that he was in a relationship with or had any type of consensual engagement with, there was some cases of her saying that he was telling her some unwanted comments. I mean, this is a lot. But even more so than that, and I'm not getting into who is what and and all of the details of the case. Because personally, it's personal. For me, this thing is personal. And I'm finding that we're in a space, folks, and I'm going to bring in Culture crew member, screenwriter, podcast host Nira Muhammad in a few moments. But I wanted to just lay it out. We're seems to be in this culture where people's personal lives are on Front Street, and then everybody get to chime in. And I'm wondering, and I was having this conversation with Nira this morning, I was wondering, I was like, does being a high-profile individual, you being in a high-profile role, does that mean that your personal life should be out there? Should your personal life be up for debate and scrutiny because you're in a high-profile role? Does that automatically mean, should that be expected? Because some things should be kept personal. I think that if you're dealing with issues like infidelity, if you're dealing with very, very hurtful, destructive, traumatic situations in your personal life, that it doesn't need to be on Front Street so that everybody can chime in. Everybody can say, well, what should be doing? Now, Coach Udoka, who is the fiance of actress Nia Long. Y'all remember Nia from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and many other movies, Best Man. She's done a ton of other movies, but she's a very high-profile Black woman celebrity. And does that mean that, you know, that their lives should be out there? They have a child together. They've been in a relationship for some years. You know, some reports say they married, other reports that they say it's fiance, but they're together. So this is already hurtful. This is already destructive because we don't know the full details of his situation with this other woman, when this happened, how long did it happen, and all of that. And that's not important, but it just goes to show that everybody's got something to say about his life, his decision, and Nia. She's trending today. She came out and she put out a little statement. Of course, people go to social media. Back in the day, they used to, you know, have conversations with some reporter. But she came out and she responded saying, quote, "The outpouring love and support from family, friends, and the community during this difficult time means so much to me. I ask that my privacy be respected as I process the recent events. Above all, I am a mother and will continue to focus on my children." Let's bring in Culture crew member Nira Muhammad into this conversation. She is the host of the new season of Queen Talks with Nira. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. That's going to be kicking off tomorrow. But she's also a screenwriter. She's a mom. She's a culture analyst. She understands the dynamics. She's a woman. She is that. She is a woman.
I am. Let me check. Let me make sure. Okay, I am.
Yeah, you're already a woman. But we had this conversation, and I was like, you know what? We need to discuss this because I think culturally, when we see these things, these type of stories, and I'm also, if you're not familiar with Maroon 5, that's Adam Levine, his mistress, Instagram model that he was dealing with, came out and said she had an affair with this guy, and he had to come out earlier this week and say, oh man. And I'm wondering culturally, dear, when we look at how all this stuff plays out, is it really important? Why is it that important? Why do we care? Why should we even know? Now, my take is it's not that important. Certain things need to stay within the family, within themselves. But what's your take on it?
I think that when you become a celebrity, you kind of sign up, whether it's, you know, like you sign on a dotted line or whatever have you, you already know, you go into this knowing that your life is going to be on Front Street. That is a part of being a celebrity. That comes along with the money, the cars, the jewelry, the fame, all the glitz and glams. And I think you can't choose. You want to be famous on one end. You want the followers. You want your social media to explode. You want to go viral. You want your movie to sell, you know, make the box office go crazy. You want your show to be streamed. You know, all these things. You want your music to sell. You cannot pick and choose when you get to be famous. You cannot pick and choose when you're talked about in the headlines. It's get over it. You know what I mean? Like, you signed up for this. I will say in this situation, there's only right now, because there's a lot of information coming out. There's still a lot that we do not know. The victims to me are Nia and her children. They are the victims here. I don't know what happened with this woman that he had the situation with. I know the words consensual came out, so it makes me question whether it really was consensual, because I feel like if it was consensual, it's just like a no-brainer. But when you're like, no, it was consensual, it makes you kind of like, was it? Are you sure? Because if it was, would you need to say it so strongly? But at the end of the day, you signed up for this and you wanted that high-profile job. You knew that becoming the head coach of the Celtics was going to put you in the limelight. You knew that you took your team to the playoffs, or I don't know, I don't watch basketball, so I don't know how far they went, but I think they went pretty far, and it was his first year coaching. He knew all of these things. He made the decision anyway. He made the decision to sleep with a female staffer. He made the decision to cheat on the mother of his child, the woman that he's been in a relationship with for 12 years. He knew all of that prior to making those actions. So guess what? Whatever's done in the dark is going to come to light. You made that bed. Now your ass got to lay in it. I have no sympathy for him. None.
Sorry.
I'm like, I can't.
Turn my mic back on. There we go. I don't have sympathy for him in a sense of, like, you're right. Like, if a man doing it, and you know, we've been down this road so many times. Like, even when I look at Adam Levine of Maroon 5, he's like, this came off like Bill Clinton-esque. Like, I did not have sexual relationships with that woman. It's like, bro.
But you first of all, you were talking about naming your unborn child after this mistress. Like,
let's just let that marinate for a minute. Okay, so here's the thing. About that.
If nothing else for me, that would have been the smoking gun to make me like, I'm leaving your ass. I may have been able to forgive you for cheating on me, but the fact that you laid up in bed next to me with your damn arm propped up, trying to name my goddamn baby after the woman that you fantasizing about, talking about, oh, you're so much hotter in person, and oh, hell no. So I gotta, every day I'm looking at my kid and I'm calling their name, and it's a woman that you're fantasizing about.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's
fucking disrespect. Come on, man.
Here's the thing on this. And again, going back to the point that you made about, you know, signing up for this, like Coach didn't sign up for this in a sense of his life being put on Front Street.
No. At this day and time, and the era, you talk about social media all the time, and this day and time, and this era that we are in right the hell now, you are in a high profile position. Your life's going to be on Front Street. I don't give it. This is not the 1990s where we probably didn't give a damn about the coach unless you were the coach of the Bulls. You know what I mean? Or something Lakers. Like that. Or Lakers or something like that. This is 2022 where everything that everyone does is under a microscope. Everybody's fair game. I don't even know who the hell Blueface and Krishan Rock, whoever this chick is. I don't even know who she is, but I had to look at her ass outside of a hotel room, passed out from alcohol. I don't give a damn who this girl is, but this is the age that we are living in. Everything is put on Front Street, and they like it when it's beneficial to their pockets. They like it when it's beneficial to their team. So guess what? Suck that shit up when it's not positive. Oh, well, you signed up for it. I don't want to hear you whine when you get bad press, but then you're all happy when you have good press. I don't want to hear it. You signed up for it. Deal with it.
All right, so let me go to our online culture crew to get their take on this. Folks, do you think that if you're a high-profile figure, that your personal life is fair game? Give me your thoughts on it. Hit us up right now on our social media streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook. I would love to hear what folks say. You know, I mean, and here's why.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not.
No, I know you're not saying it's right. But here's the part, and I think just to give folks even further context, one of the big things that you expressed is the fact that Nia Long, for her having to put out a statement that she did today, and then for her to be literally trending on Twitter like she is today, it just goes to show it adds to the pain, it adds to the hurt, right? And it's just like, man, are we in a place in our culture where we love to see car crashes?
Goddamn.
I'm gonna call personal transgressions that car crashes. We love to see personal car crashes.
Why are you saying it like it's new? We've had gossip. How long has TMZ been around? That's one of the most. Oh my God, we have all those shows. We love magazines. National Enquirer, Us Magazine. I mean, we've had all these magazines. We've had all these shows that have forever followed the lives of celebrity. They're an enigma. Right. You know what I mean? They're the untouchables. They're the people that we're fascinated by their lives because they do put their lives on Front Street so much.
Yeah,
you know
but see, that's certain people.
We are invested in them because we spend our dollars on them. Do we not?
And when you're saying that, with Coach Udoka,
hell, if you go to those, you go support the Celtics, you're invested in his team. You're spending your money on it. That pot goes down.
Yes,
it does. You're invested in them.
Okay.
That is your team. Especially if you're like,
here's the thing.
If you're a Celtics fan too, you're like, this is our coach. Our coach is gone. This disrupts the whole system.
Well, a couple of things, and I know there are a couple of folks that are going to be checking in. I want to get their comment, but here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen A. Smith, we talked about this morning. Stephen A. Smith, one of the big things that he said was that this is an internal thing, right? That this is a personnel thing in terms of policy, right?
Yeah.
Now, it could have been like, all right, we're gonna let this guy go. Or, you're going to suspend him, and it like Steven said, we'll have to speculate until the cows come home.
No.
Right.
Because he's a head coach. No, that's not acceptable anymore. It's not, and it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the people that are invested in that team. That their coach is gone. That's just like being, any job, really, Farajii, you're invested. This is your pediatrician. Oh, not you're not pediatrician because you're not a child, but this is your doctor. Your doctor for whatever. Y'all have had a good relationship, and then all of a sudden they're gone. You're gonna be like, what the hell happened? They were the best to ever do it. Where'd they go? What happened? Teacher, whatever. Job. You want to know what happened? We cannot speculate till the fucking cows roll over. Like that's not happening. And then again, we don't really know the full story. If it does come out that this young woman there were advances made toward her that she was uncomfortable with, then that's a whole other ball game. That it's impossible.
Different conversation.
Exactly, but are we really going to be able to keep that under wraps? And then we're going to go back to like the Harvey Weinstein. Well, why didn't Harvey Weinstein get put on blast? Or is it because it's a black man? We don't want it to be. That's another conversation too. But I just think we have to be
this is not about protecting.
Because the spotlight benefits us when we want it to. We cannot be mad when the tables turn on us.
I agree. I agree with that point. It's like
it sucks.
It sucks so bad, right? And I feel like for us and for black folks, right? Black folks, we love the gossip. As much as we try to act like we love we specialize in cooking the water for the tea. You know what I mean? we ready for it. We got our spoons ready and we got our cups ready. We just pour it in. Give me that tea. And I'm just pushing back on it and saying yo, at some point.
I know why.
Go ahead.
Because we're bored with our own lives, or we're just so over our own shit and drama that sometimes it's just easier to focus on other people. Damn, your life is more fucked up than mine. Woo! it makes you feel good. I'm not the only one having a fucked up day today. Thank you. I know that's not right, but it's entertainment. We want to be entertained. You were just talking about work, getting burnt out at work. You at work all day, you bored, and oh shit, this pops up on your timeline. Now you have something. This is interesting. This has caught your attention. It breaks you away from the mundane day-to-day lives that are our lives.
Damn. That's even more disappointing. All right, let me. That's even more disappointing. All right, let me get to a couple of our comments from our culture crew. Brother Kingley, my guy, good to hear from you. Always glad that you're joining us in the chat, King. You said, right, it is personal, brother Farajii Muhammad. Right. It's personal. I don't care. The only person I care about is the people that were impacted the most. And I'm talking about Nia Long, her son, and her family. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day.
The same people that are saying it's personal, did you feel the same way when Bill Clinton got caught with Monica Lewinsky, or were you all in for the tea?
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not care.
Well, one, you were kind of young. But
yeah,
I was
but see, even more so than that. It wasn't just about that.
I was a kid when it happened.
No, that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. The thing is, it wasn't a situation of national security. It wasn't a situation.
It's so iconic that Beyonce.
It was a big moment. No. Trust and believe. Now, when it became, here's the thing. When he gaslit himself when he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Then you saw Ken Starr. You saw investigations. You saw all of it. Now, once it comes down to the American people or the taxpayers, now we got to pay for the investigation of the transgression of another man. Once we got to bear the brunt of that, once you started to see televised hearings on this situation, now it becomes a problem.
And people,
because guess what? That distracts the American people. That takes resources away from what's really important. I don't care. That's just for me personally. I don't care.
Guess what? It's entertaining. It drives up ratings.
And I get that. And even in that case, you brought up Bill Clinton. So I think it's a good point, because even in that case, that's the nature of our relationship with politics, with political people. You know what I'm saying? Like, we look at, and people always say, look at the evolving culture of how political leaders have become like pseudo Hollywood celebrities, right? Yeah. We're seeing that. And it's like, that's the problem.
No, they operate like celebrities.
We can't tell the difference between the personal and professional. We can't tell the difference between a person that is supposed to serve us versus a person that's supposed to entertain us. It's all getting meshed together.
The point that you're making is that it is what it is. This is where we're at. So being as though now it's like, as an adult, now that you know that that's where we are, you know that you are in a high profile position, you know that people are going to be in your business, you know that, hell, a lot of times when you cheat, you get caught. Most of the time when you cheat, you get caught. At some point, you're going to get caught. You know that you're in the limelight. You got to make you got to make better decisions. That's what it boils down to.
It does boil down to that. I agree.
I'm like, yeah, it's personal, but again, you already knew that was what you signed up for. And so you have to just take, when you decided to take that big ass check that put you in that big position that was going to put you on Front Street, you knew that this was a part of the deal.
Janelle, you checked in and said Stephen A. Smith said that usually this type of personal info isn't disclosed. Usually the team member is dismissed or the settlement is taken care of with an NDA. He's never seen this in 30 years. That's because of, based upon some of our research here for Janelle, that they did. Some people are saying that the Celtics knew back in July that he had a consensual, intimate relationship with one of the female staffers, and they were going to keep it enclosed and closed in the house. But then some new information came up where there might have been some level of harassment. But exactly. the Celtics did not specify as to the number or what was violated. They didn't say it like with Deshaun Watson, for example. We know that there was a personal conduct policy that was violated. The Celtics didn't give any specifics on that in their press conference. And so that opens the door for a lot of speculation. They didn't go into the
nitty-gritty details and air his
and opens the door for speculation.
But I think that as an entity and as a business, this man is not like some second string. I'm thinking about football. You know what I mean? Like coach, like he is y'all got to put into perspective. This man is the fucking head coach. Outside of the number one players, he's the face of this team. He is the leader. He is the leader of this team. Yeah. With him gone, that disrupts the entire team. Can we stop acting like this was some assistant coach or some guy who picked up the fucking towels? He was the head coach.
Gotcha.
His removal from that position is going to have everyone is going to be like, what the hell happened? Where's the coach? And if you think you will be satisfied with, we're not going to tell you, you wouldn't have been. You would not have been satisfied.
All right. Let me see. It's this Saltacio. You said folks need to worry about what rich people are doing. They are human just like anybody else. Nobody is perfect.
Very true.
And that's the thing. The culture is always worried about what somebody else is doing. That's why I push back on this. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe we'll get further along culturally if we start worrying about what everybody else is doing.
And yet here we are talking about it. So then the show will be null and void because none of us will ever have anything
no,
to say about anything.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It will not be null and void.
Opinions about things. Come on, that's unrealistic. I don't think you guys are being unfair. That's just unrealistic. So so you're telling me that in your personal life, when your girlfriend or so and so call you, or you see somebody cheating on so and so, you don't call some girl.
Look, we do it. But here's to your point, though.
Don't get mighty and be phony. Like
no,
you don't
it's not being phony. But what did you just say?
I'm not talking about you.
No. I'm just saying. Like, in that example, you literally just said.
Your ass does not follow the stuff. Not to mention reality TV. What are the ratings for reality TV? How has reality TV grown?
They're through the roof.
That's what I'm saying. So people stop acting like y'all don't want to know about other people's drama. Stop. It's phony. Just stop it right now.
I'm not saying that we don't want to. Hold on.
TV
all I'm saying is that
as it is.
All I'm saying is not that we don't act like we don't want to know other people's drama. I'm just saying it's getting to a tipping point, I think, in this country where that's all we're consumed by, and that culturally it's creating a space where we just become we want to become so enraptured by somebody else's mess, right? That we don't want to deal with our own.
I think we are dealing with our own. I think that's why it's so appealing.
We're escaping our own. We're not dealing with it. We're escaping it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm on the fence about it because I feel like you do need a little frivolity in your life. But then who wants to be focused on? Like I could be immersed. I could be immersed in my work all day. I could. Right. I do. I fall asleep with my work, literally. But why would I? That's not fun. That's not living. That's not living. Let's be real. I need some.
Hold on. That might be the quote of the day. I could be focused on myself, but who wants that? That's not fun. That's not. I could be doing me and doing me very well, but who wants that? I need to worry about somebody else.
I grew up on The Young and the Restless, As the World Turns, The Bold and the Beautiful, Passions. What else? Oh, General Hospital. So I'm all for the tea, baby. I've been watching the tea since I was about 3 years old. Wishing I could watch Barney, but I got to worry about Sharon and Victor. What he doing? It's no different than that. I love TV. I'm just saying, but it's really no different, Farajii. The same way people are addicted to those dramatic fucking stories, it's the same way we want to know about the people who we're invested in, who we're fans of, because we look up to them in some ways. We idolize them. I personally, I'm a poet. Oh my God, do you know how many times I've watched Love Jones? Do you know how inspiring that was as a poet, even when I was young? It's one of my favorite love stories, one of my favorite Black films. I even went and saw the play. The play, of course, was nowhere a musical. It was nowhere near as good as the film. But that's how much I loved the movie, and that's how much I've loved Nia Long. Like I have probably seen just about every project that Nia Long has ever done because I'm just a huge fan. I think so for me, I've been more hurt for her because as a woman, I know what it feels like to be cheated on, and it feels awful it already feels awful being cheated on, especially when it's the father of your children or your child. This is someone that she's been with for 12 years, and then to have everybody talking about it. It's embarrassing on so many different levels. And so, again, she's the victim. Her son, who has to watch his father being dragged through this, is also the victim. And I think that's what we have to keep in perspective, that there are the collateral damage that it does to the actual people and the children. That's what we have to really keep in perspective.
That's the other part of it as we wrap up this discussion, but that's the other part of it, which is his son is 10 or 11 years old. So he's clearly at 11, an age where, he's clearly at an age where he'll read about it. He understands that, okay, daddy not showing loving mommy the way that mommy wants to be felt. I mean, he gonna see his mother in a state of grief or pain and hurt. So, I mean, I would agree wholeheartedly with you on that it's got to be a different conversation.
And I think he would have already probably seen her go through some level of hurt just because of the age that he's at. I don't know who she is as a woman, and how she may express or not express herself, but daddy fucked up. Regardless to whether or not people were putting it out there, if daddy didn't fuck up, no one will be able to talk about it. And that's what the reality, boils down to. This is something that he is going to have to fix within his own family and within his own relationship with his son. And that's on him. He did not think about his son when he made that decision to possibly ruin his family. He didn't.
Dang. And as a man, that's a hard hit. I'm gonna tell you, that's a hard hit. You got to live with those decisions that destroy your family. You got to live with the decision, and now you got to look in your son in the eyes and explain to him why his world, his view of his daddy, who oftentimes is the superhero of their sons, right? Daddy messed up. And I'm a huge advocate of parents not putting themselves on this pedestal. You and I have many conversations about parenting. I'm a huge advocate of that. Like, make it realistic to your children that you, even as a parent, will even sometimes make some bad decisions, or, because your children have to understand, they have to see your humanity. I think, this is my personal belief, folks, I think your children should be exposed to your humanity early on so they can have a proper understanding of who you are. Because if you always show them the well-behaved side of you and they never see the other side of you, when they see the other side of you, it's like not knowing Santa Claus is real. It's like, oh, Mom, you do what? Dad, you? And it can mess them up because your parents are the stability. That's how you learn to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually stable, is from your parents. If your parents are the pillars of stability, if your parents aren't stable, then guess what? Not to say that you will be unstable, but the chances of you not seeing things in the right context, it goes higher when your parents are not there. And that's all. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit about Avatar. You got your upcoming new season of your podcast. So we still got a lot more to get to in the final few minutes of today's show. So stay with us, folks. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We got a final few minutes of today's show, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. We got Culture crew member Nira Muhammad, who is the host of Queen Talks with Nira, the podcast that is streaming on all platforms. And, we wanted to take the final few minutes to kind of talk a little bit about the importance of podcasting and the work that Nira is doing. And she is kind of branching out in her space, in her world. First and foremost, let's talk about a couple of things, because you're a screenwriter. We do know that. And now you're putting out, you're actively working on getting some of those things, some of your projects, reviewed in a big space and more well seen. But then you're also having these important conversations with women in particular. Mm-hmm. But your podcast is actually open to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But, men and women, you highly encourage men to tune in, because you talk about a lot of different things.
If you want to know about women, if you want to know about Black women, you should be listening to what Black women have to say, right? I mean, I think you should be listening to what Black women have to say.
So talk to us. This is season 3 of your podcast. And, folks, if you want to check it out, make sure y'all go to Queen Talks with Nira, on IG and on all streaming platforms. Y'all can Google it right now. Now, Ariel, I don't know if you can just pull that up when you get a chance. But
yeah, I'm actually happy, Farajii. We just got it on Amazon Music and Audible today, so that's
awesome. That's awesome.
So, yeah, all right, you can find us on all the platforms.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so season 1, season 2. Talk to us how you got to season 3 and what we can expect there.
Okay, so season 1 was really great. You actually produced season 1. So for those of you that don't know, Farajii produced season 1. I mean, down to like making sure that I had a script for my guests. Each episode, we interviewed different women. It was really great. I mean, it was from, women in business, entrepreneurs. I had an accountant on there to talk about finances. Oh my gosh, we talked about Black Lives Matter. So many things that were happening. Season 2, I kind of switched gears. It went from just being I Call Queen the podcast to Queen Talks with Nira, because I actually noticed that the episode from season 1 that I had the most streams was actually the episode that I did by myself, where I was calling it my Sister Talks episode, and I was literally just having like a candid 30-minute conversation, and it was a really successful episode. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just take away all the pressure of podcasting, because sometimes you just have a word. You have something that's really on your heart that you want to say and that you want to share. And so season 2 kicked off. We talked about dating. We talked about manifesting. We talked about, oh my God, social media creating narcissists. We talked about how to apply cancel culture to your life, becoming your own dragon slayer, not waiting for someone to save you. Oh my gosh. We talked about, the balance of being a woman, your sexuality versus your brains, and how you can, meld them both together. And so for season 3, I want to take season 1 and I want to take season 2 and I want to marry them together and I want them to have a baby. So what you're going to get is some episodes where you get me solo dolo, just like rocking it out on a topic. But then I'm also going to be interviewing people. And I've already have like a really cool lineup of guests that are going to come on the show. And I'm really excited. I'm kicking off this first episode with a show called Fuck Boys. And it wasn't intentional. I was like, no, I want to come on. I want to talk about my birthday. I just turned 33. I want to talk about the significance of the number 3 and your angel numbers. But I was inspired to talk about relationships and dating because, just listening to my friends and all the things that they've gone through and just like having guys like DMing me like the most inappropriate things, it just like instantly sparked. And I was like, no, that's where we have to go with this first episode. And so episodes are going to be dropping every single Saturday Eastern time at noon. And then on Sundays, we're going to be going live at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is something new that we've never done. So that means you have to stream the episode somewhere between 12 p.m. Saturday and I'm going to say 8 p.m. Sunday so that you can make sure that you're up to speed and you can come into our live and you can chat with us. And prayerfully, all the guests that I have on the show will also be joining me for the lives so that you can talk to them as well. So I'm excited.
All right, and I would direct everybody to your Instagram for Queen Talks with Nira, and make sure y'all check her out on that Instagram piece because that's where you're going to find the link for all of the shows, the past shows, and all of those good things. But I think it's interesting, and I wanted to have to take the moment to have this conversation there because I think that we're in a time where women are becoming more empowered to speak their truth. Everybody's talking about speak your truth and say what you want to say. And I think it's important. And then even for men to tune in. And that's why, because I recognize that in my years of doing media work and in my years of talking to a lot of different women, it's important that we bring that view into the discussion. Like a lot of the conversations that we have culturally are about women.
A lot. And we're not at the table of a lot of those conversations. When a lot of those decisions are made, we're not at the table. And it always makes me think about Africa. When you had all these Europeans from around the world who sat down at a table and decided how they were going to divide up Africa with not one African leader and, present. I think of that in terms of our womanhood. So often there's so many conversations that are being had about us, about our bodies, about what we need, what we don't need, who we are. Even in writing, I think even in TV, I think, which one of the reasons that I wanted to become a screenwriter was because I felt underrepresented on TV. Even on the shows that had Black women, I still felt like there was no one there that was like me. And so one of the things I wanted to do with my show, with Queen Talks with Nira, is have these candid conversations, real down and dirty conversations that a lot of people don't want to have. A lot of conversations people still think are taboo. And I'm, me, I am the type of person that's like, nope, let's have it. The more taboo it is, the more raunchy it is, the more likely I am to want to have it. So
Right.
So
Absolutely. But you know what? And you and I have always had these conversations about creative decisions, about, what should be put out there? How should we present these news and information? And I think that, at least from my vantage point, it's about making sure that you can have the craziest conversations. Like even what we do here, we can talk about the craziest situations, but there are some elements of truth. There are some elements of civility. There are some things that we need to take out, because I think that in this day and time, if everybody has a platform, and you telling me this, everybody has a podcast, everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to be seen. I get that. Even as a person that's done communication and media for nearly 20 years, right? I am still blown away by everybody who's like, oh, I'm gonna just get on this mic and I'm gonna just go off. And I'm like, I wish it was that simple, right?
I mean,
you've been in those spaces where you've been a part of podcasts, but then you also have done radio shows. You understand the back behind the scenes work. And this is not easy stuff. This is not just like, oh, we're going to just, you really have to be in tune with where people are to help them and hopefully to raise them to a new level, even if it's by 1 or 2 degrees.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I was on radio for 2 years before even getting close to making a decision to even have a podcast. In fact, I'm gonna let you take this real quick. It's kind of loud for a second.
All right. So as you know, when we see that, folks, I mean, again, and I want to do this very quickly. Ariel, if you can pull up the IG page on how folks can check out the podcast. There we go here. There we go. Queen Talks. There we go. This is the IG page. Make sure y'all follow Nira and the IG page of Queen Talks with Nira. You can see all the latest. She even posts, you know, when she's on the culture and all of that good stuff. So it's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things that are posted, and you will see more of what Nira is doing. But to your point, before the
helicopter airplane came.
Yes.
What was I saying, Farajii?
I was just making a point that you were saying that you
over the years, like, you know, you put in work in this field for a while to even make sure, because I was kind of afraid to lead the conversation. I was on a really dope show Farajii gave to 3 other Black women and I from Morgan State University. Shout out to Morgan. But Autumn Queen, if you listen to the radio, Autumn was the chick who at late night, she had all the hip hop shit. You know what I mean? But she could also hold the show. She could host the show. So I was always nervous to be like the lead on the show. I was like, it was weird because like Autumn was like the lead, but then like once we were in it, I was like, you know what I mean? I'm like gone. So I was nervous about starting my own show because I had always had somebody else to kind of pivot off of, someone else that was there. And then with your guidance and with Mika, who was also one of our producers from WEAA, y'all have really helped me to like build a solid first season. You guys really showed me the ropes, helped me figure all that stuff out. But then again, like you mentioned, it is work. And I didn't want my podcast to feel like work. So that's the reason why for season 2, I had shifted gears and was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this solo dolo because I don't want to have to get pretty. I don't want to put my makeup on to do my show. I want to just be ugly, have my little glass of wine, record my podcast because I got some shit that's like, that I want to say, and I'm going to post it. And it was beautiful. I please go back and listen to season 2. Like I love season 1, but season 2 is like my fucking baby. I love it. And I'm just like, listen to season 2 because you're going to hear a lot of stuff from season 2 continued into season 3. And so I'm a writer. So I'm a storyteller. I'm a curriculum writer. So a lot of what I do does build off of stuff that I already started. So it is important to kind of go back and hear what we said before.
There it is, folks. Make sure y'all tune in. The season 3 of Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad kicks off tomorrow at noon. And make sure y'all tune in. It's streaming on various platforms, but you can go to the IG page you see right there and get all the latest news and information about what's going on with Nira, her thinking, what's happening, and so much more. So again, big shout out to Nira for the great work she's doing, putting the story of many women out there, not just talking about things happening in her personal life, but she's serving as a voice for so many other women. And so we look forward to season 3. And you know, I might hop on the mic there at some point. I might, but I give them space. I'll fall back.
No, I would love to have you on. I always enjoy talking with you. The problem with talking to you, though, is that I try to keep my show at 30 minutes.
I don't really talk much. So much be in my head. Just so much.
Yeah, you're not really a talker. You're not really a talker.
I got so much in my head. I read so much, and I'm thinking about so many things that I got to share it with so many people. So anytime I get an opportunity,
I show y'all, and I become the guest.
I try not to. I really do. I fall back. Whatever she talks about, you know, people always ask me. It's so funny. People always like hit me up like, "Did you hear your wife? Did she say that?" Look, man. Look. I've learned very early on, and you know, this is to the men that are tuned in today. You know, you just got to allow space for the women in your lives to express themselves the way they need to express themselves. That's what I've learned, you know, and you got to allow space to do it. And so, because at the end of the day, they're going to gain from it. You're going to gain from it in your relationship with them. But if you don't give them that space, and this is for men too, like sometimes women can be very controlled, like, oh, no. You know what I'm saying? And you got to allow people to express themselves the way they see fit and not try to control them. And I think that's one of the big things about where we are in our culture. Our culture doesn't allow us it doesn't understand the balance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Of guiding people versus controlling people. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But folks, y'all definitely don't want to miss out on season 3, Queen Talks with Nira. And Nira, of course, is a Culture crew member. She's been with us from the beginning. So Nira, we thank you so much for your time today, your analysis, and your candor.
Farajii, you forgot to mention Avatar. I just thought about that.
You mentioned Avatar, but I looked at the drop date for some reason. I'm showing as December 16th. What? So yeah, I'm like,
I thought it dropped this weekend.
Maybe they got some pre-sale tickets going on. Something. I don't know.
I guess we gotta look.
Well, we'll certainly talk about it the next time you're on the show. But Nira, thank you so much as always, dear.
Thank you.
Good to have you on. Thank you for being so good for the culture. Folks, make sure y'all tune into the season 3. Make sure y'all follow. Oh, Nira, what's your social that you want people to follow you on?
Oh, they can follow me at Queen Talks with Nira, or, if you want to follow my Ratchet page, there's a link for that also on Queen Talks with Nira. So
there it is.
I'm easy to follow. Easy.
There it is. Also, that's awesome. All right, folks. Thank you, Nira. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. But I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I want to thank my guy, Rashad, for tuning in as well. I want to thank my dynamic team, Joel and Shannon and Ariel and King Keenan. I want to thank our control room for making it so great for us to do the show each and every day. Thank Big Brother Roland for the opportunity. And again, can't say it enough. Thank you for tuning in. All right, folks. Thank you. Make sure y'all continue to support us at Black Star Network. Your support means everything to us, especially to me. So your support of the culture, your support of the work that we're doing is pivotal. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Support Black-owned media that is going to plead our case and tell our story properly and with the cultural context that is often missing in the big conversation. So you don't want to miss a word of what we have to say at blackstarnetwork.com. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on your station, your digital platform that's talking about things that are important to you. blackstarnetwork.com. Follow me on all Instagram, on all social media, and for Real Farajii, The Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, and Farajii Muhammad. And I look forward to connecting with you, building with you, and more importantly, pushing the culture forward. Thank y'all. Have a great weekend. God willing, we'll see each other on Monday. I look forward to talking to you then. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.